My name is Elena, and I am 32 years old. When I look back now, my story feels soft at the beginning, like a small light in a quiet room. Warm, gentle, safe. I once believed that love always stayed. I once believed that promises were strong. I once believed that when someone said, "I will come back," they always did. But life taught me something different. And even though the ending of my story is painful, my heart is peaceful now, because pain can change shape. It can become understanding. It can become strength. But before everything broke, there was only love. Simple, a calm, beautiful. And that is where my story begins. The first meeting, innocent and beautiful. I lived in a small town then. Nothing loud ever happened there. Most days looked the same. Same streets, same poplo, same sky. I worked in a little bookshop, the kind where time feels slower and the smell of paper feels like home. That is where I first saw him. He didn't walk in like a movie hero. He didn't speak in poetry. He just smiled. A quiet smile? His name was Daniel. He looked kind before he even said a word. Soft eyes, gentle voice, slow movements, like he was careful with the world. He asked me about a book. We talked, not for long, but long enough for something small to begin. I didn't fall in love that day. Love came later, slowly, like morning light. But that first meeting, it felt softy. And for someone like me, who had always felt unseen, that safety felt like magic. Growing close, the season of hope. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Daniel came to the bookshop often. Sometimes he bought something. Sometimes he just said hello. Sometimes we talked for a few minutes. Sometimes more. With him, I felt calm. I didn't need to pretend. I didn't need to hide. We talked about small things. The weather, music, dreams, fears. He listened when I spoke. Really listened. Not just with his ears, but with his heart. And slowly, without noise, we became close. We started walking after work. We shared coffee. We watched the sunset when the sky turned gold. There were no big promises at first, no dramatic words, just gentle connection. But inside my heart, something opened. I let me. And when he finally said, "I care about you," his voice was soft, but strong. That season of my life felt like spring. Everything inside me felt alive. I trusted him. I felt emotionally safe. I felt like I finally belonged somewhere with someone. It was the first time I believed love could last forever. The goodbye, a quiet storm. But life is not always soft. One evening, Daniel looked different. More serious. More distant. Like his heart was standing far away. He told me he had to leave. Work? Family? Life? There were many reasons. All heavy. It wasn't a fight. There were no angry words. No tears that screamed. Only silence and sadness. He took my hands and said, "I will come back. I promise." And I nodded and said, "I will wait." We hugged for a long time, long enough for me to memorize the feeling. It wasn't the kind of goodbye that feels final. It was the kind that says, "This is temporary. We still belong to each other. Just not right now." I believed him with my whole heart. He walked away, and my world became quiet. Waiting days turned into years. At first, Waiting didn't feel hard. I sent messages. He answered, sometimes, not always. Not always, but enough for hope to live. I went to the places we used to go. The cafe, the river, the old bench near the park. I told myself he will come back. He promised. Days passed. Then months. Then years. The world kept moving. People changed. Life changed. But I didn't. I waited. Sometimes I stared at my phone until my eyes hurt. Sometimes I dreamed of him and woke up smiling. Sometimes I cried quietly at night so no one would hear. But I didn't blame him. Not yet. Because love blinds us gently. Not with pain at first, but with hopey, and I held that hope. Like it was the last warm thing in a cold room. The cracks begin to show, but even the strongest hope can grow tired. I began to feel small questions inside my heart. Why doesn't he call more? Why doesn't he tell me his plan? Why do I always wait alone? I tried to push those thoughts away, but they kept coming back. My friends told me, Elena, maybe it's time to move on. But I wasn't ready. Because when you love someone deeply, letting go can feel like betrayal. So I stayed. I waited, but slowly, I began to doubt myself. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I wasn't worth staying for. Maybe love was not meant for me. Hope started to hurt. And silence became heavy. The truth arrives quiet but heavy. The truth did not arrive loudly. It came in a simple message from someone who knew him. They said he had a new life now. New city. New jobby. New love. No message from him. No apology. No goodbye. Just silence. It felt like winter inside my chest. Not a stormy, just cold. I did not scream. I did not break plates. I did not hate him. I just sat there and felt my heart become quiet, like a song that had finally ended. Transition to section 2. That was the moment I understood he was not coming back, and I had to face life alone. I did not yet know how to heal, how to let go, how to breathe without waiting. But somewhere deep inside, a small new voice whispered, "This is not the end of you. This is the beginning of something else." And that is where the next part of my story begins. Not with love, not with betrayal, but with healing, and with me, and with... When I learned the truth about Daniel, it felt like the world stopped for a moment. He had a new life, a new place, a new love, and I had an old promise that no longer meant anything. For a long time, I had lived between two worlds. The world outside, where people moved on, and the world inside, where I was still waiting. Now I had to choose. I could not stay in between forever. This is how I slowly learned to live without him. Letting go did not happen in one big moment. It started with very small things. First, I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes. I still looked sometimes, but not like before, not like my whole life depended on one message. Then I opened our old conversation. There were years of messages there. Good morning. I miss you. Soon. I promise. For a while, I just stared at the screen. My fingers shook. My heart hurt. Part of me wanted to save everything, to keep proof that our love was real, that I had not imagined it. But another part of me knew these words were keeping me in the past. So I started to delete, not all at once, one by one old photo, one small I love you, one picture of his smile. Every time I deleted something, I felt a sharp pain inside, like I was cutting a very thin string that still tied me to him. Sometimes I had to stop because the tears were too strong. For many years, I did not allow myself to cry about him. I told myself to be strong. I told myself to have faith. But now, I finally let myself break. I cried in my room. I cried in the shower. I cried at night when the world was quiet. And for the first time, those tears did not feel weak. They felt honest. I understood something important then. Holding on was hurting me more than letting go. After some weeks, something small began to change. The world outside my pain started to look different. One friend invited me for coffee. Another asked me to go for a walk. At first, I said no. I felt too tired inside. But one day, I said yes. We walked in the park near my house. The trees were green. Children were laughing. The sky was bright. For a moment, I forgot to be sad. I noticed how the light touched the leaves. I listened to the sound of people talking, of cars, of life. It felt strange and beautiful. I started to do more small things. I went back to reading books, not to wait for him, but for myself. I took slow walks in the evening just to feel the air on my face. I made myself simple meals and tried to enjoy the taste. At work in the bookshop, I smiled Mari, not because everything was perfect, but because I was still here. Issue leaving, issue trying. Everyday life began to feel a little more real, a little more mine. The pain did not disappear, but it did not cover everything anymore. There was also warmth. There was also peace. There was also hope. Time did not fix everything, but it gave me space to see more clearly. I began to remember Daniel without feeling like I would fall apart. I remembered the way he laughed, the way he listened, the way I felt safe with him. Those memories were real. They were not lies. But I also remembered how long I waited, how many nights I cried alone, how many times I made excuses for his silence. I started to ask myself new questions. What did this love teach me? How did I grow? I realized something important. I had loved deeply. I had been loyal. I had been patient. These were not weaknesses. They were beautiful parts of me. But I also survived deeply. I survived broken promises. I survived silence. I survived the moment when I saw he had chosen another life. Love, I learned, should not erase who we are. It should not make us forget our own value. Love should be a place where we both can stand strong. Not only one of us. People sometimes think forgiveness is a big moment with big words. For me, it was very quiet. One evening, I sat alone in my room. I lit a small candle. The room was almost dark. I closed my eyes and thought about him. I thought about the boy who walked into my bookshop, the man who held my hands and promised to come back, the stranger who never said goodbye. I felt anger for a moment, then sadness, then nothing. just a calm, empty space. I didn't send him a message. I didn't call him. I didn't write a long letter. I just whispered inside my heart, I forgive you for not coming back. I forgive you for not explaining. I forgive you for not choosing me. And then I said something even harder. I forgive myself for waiting so long, for forgetting my own worth, for loving you more than I loved myself. There was no magic. The pain did not disappear in 1 second, but something soft changed inside you. The anger lost its power. The hurt was still there, but it felt lighter. Forgiveness did not mean what he did was okay. It meant I no longer wanted his choices to control my life. It was not a gift for him. It was a gift for me. As more time passed, I began to see myself differently. Before, I only wanted love and love. As long as someone stayed, now I wanted something more. I wanted respect. I wanted honesty. I wanted consistency. If someone said, I care, I needed to see it in their actions, not just in their words. I understood that real love does not disappear without a word. Real love does not ask you to wait in the dark. Real love walks beside you, step by step, even when life is hard, even when the future is unclear. This new understanding did not make me hard or cold. It made me gentle and strong at the same time. I was no longer a girl waiting at the window. I was a woman standing in her own light. One morning, I looked at myself in the mirror and truly saw the person in front of me, not the girl who was left, not the girl who waited, not the girl who cried in secret. I saw Elena, 32 years old, a woman with a soft heart and a strong spirit. My life was not perfect. I still had lonely days. I still had moments when old memories returned, but my heart was calmer. The future felt open, not empty. I was not in a hurry to love again. I did not rush to find someone new just to fill the silence. If love came, I wanted it to come slowly, earnestly, clearly. And if it never came, I knew I could still have a full life because I was no longer afraid to walk alone. If you are listening to my story now, maybe you know this feeling too. Maybe you also waited for someone who did not return. Maybe you also believed promises that were not kept. I want to tell you something from my heart. Sometimes the person we wait for is not the person we are meant to walk with. Sometimes the story we write in our mind is not the story life gives us, but that does not mean our story is over. Every tear we cry can become strength. Every silent night can become wisdom. Every broken promise can teach us how to promise better to ourselves. We can learn to say, I will not leave myself again. I will not betray my own heart. I will not wait for someone who does not choose me. Today, I no longer wait for Daniel. I walk forward with my own 2 feet, my own quiet courage, and my own gentle heart. He is part of my past, but I am my own future on that. And that's Achilas is enough.